This podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp to provide you with access to the largest online therapy service in the world. And it can all be done from the comfort of your own home, from a phone, tablet or laptop. No commute, cutting down travel costs, and most importantly, it's affordable. With over 1,000 therapists in the UK, BetterHelp can provide access to mental health professionals with a wide variety of expertise in mental health. If you need someone to talk to and you're thinking of giving therapy a go, BetterHelp is a great option. And being a listener of the podcast, you get 10% off. That's 10% off your first month at betterhelp.com/lifeandfilm. That's betterhelp.com/lifeandfilm. Welcome to our bonus episode of A Life in Film. I'm Elliot James Langridge. I'm an actor, writer, and apparently a podcaster, and I love film. This is the podcast that we ask our guests from in front and behind the camera, how did they get their foot in the door? What was the key to unlocking their success? What's their story? Our guests today are actor Mathew Goode and director Matthew Brown. As always, we'll talk about how it all began for them, where that passion came from, and their new movie, Freud's Last Session, also starring Sir Anthony Hopkins.
It's a life in film. 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 Woo!
Hello, Matthew. How are you doing?
Hello, Elliot. Very nice to meet you.
Very nice to meet you. I want to say first off that I've been a fan of your work since your earlier things like Match Point and My Family, Other Animals and things like that.
Wow, okay. Thank you. That's very kind.
My podcast is usually about how people get into the industry, how the love of acting came about. How did that begin for you?
My mum, she doesn't anymore because she's losing her eyesight, but she used to direct amateur dramatics. So I did that when I was a kid. She had me in a production of Wind in the Willows. So that was kind of my introduction. And I sang in the choir at school, but I didn't really think I was gonna. I didn't think about acting at all. I played a lot of sports, if anything. So, but there was Stephanie Trackmore, who was my teacher at Exeter School. She taught me drama, and I was quite shy, and I used to blush a lot as well, which was a pain in the ass, frankly. But yeah, when I was 17, I just started A-levels, and she was like, I see something in you, and like, I think you should audition for this part of the young Covey in The Plough and the Stars by Shauna Casey. And I was like, really? Okay. And like, I got the part, and then I did Buckingham with her and Richard III next year. And then I went to university, and I was like, well, what the hell? What am I going to study at university? And I did drama. But it wasn't, I still didn't have the confidence or really think I could go ahead and do it as a job. And then, but then, this is going to sound really awful, but then our flatmate, Gary, lovely guy, Gary Crystal, he got into Webber Douglas Drama School. And I just thought, I hadn't thought of it. And I was like, well, if Gary can get in, I'm going to give it a go. I stand as much chance.
Yeah, why not?
And I went down there and I managed to get in, which was amazing. And then I managed to get an agent when I finished, and it's just sort of snowballed a little bit more and more each year. I mean, some years have been better than others, but that's life.
You challenged my disbelief, is that correct?
I do.
Well done. Good. Too late to turn back now. It seems to me, Professor, you've never matured enough to face the terror of being alone in the dark.
What is it you think I'm so afraid of?
Yeah, we're all terrified. So you bury your doubts, you bury your memories of the war, but at the core of your being, we're all cowards before death.
The career you've had, the people you've worked with, this feels like this would still be quite stressful. Playing this character and being opposite Anthony Hopkins, what was that experience like?
Well, the whole thing was quite bizarre, really. Because my agent started representing him, and he phoned me up one day just to say, I'm representing Anthony Hopkins now. And I was like, get out of town. That's awesome. Well done, you. And he said, and he's circling a project right now, and you could be right for it, but it's very unlikely. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, still good for you. And then things take a while to come around, and then he ends up saying, listen, I'm pitching it still, but it's still very unlikely. And I'm like, okay, I'm getting a bit bored of the unlikely thing, but fine. And then somehow or other, Matthew Brown decided that he wanted me to be in it. And I was like, oh my God, that's incredible. Thank you so much. But then you're like, oh God, I'm playing C.S. Lewis, and Shadowlands is one of my favorite films.
Yeah, I was going to say.
And my favorite performances. And I'm like, oh, I'm going to have to go, So that was the elephant in the room. But Tony was, he's been my hero for years. And he's so gentle and so generous and brilliant that it was a really wonderful experience. Is the absolute truth. And I had him to myself for 3 weeks. We shot the movie in 6 weeks, I think. So, but for 3 weeks, it was just me and him every day in that room. And, an absolute masterclass.
It felt like that. Just watching it was like, stupidly, I didn't realize when I was watching it that it was originally a play. And I was watching this, they would make a great play.
What I thought.
They should go and do it.
Knowledge isn't, no, if you don't know, you don't know. But I never saw the play. I read it obviously, and then you're like, okay, well they've had to adapt it, and then it's our job now, as opposed to being on stage. We got to put it on camera and make it more cinematic, because which had its challenges. I would imagine, I know it. We needed to find little bits of movement all the time, because people generally want. Well, you know what I mean. Luckily we had that double room. We had a little garden out the back. We made it work for ourselves.
Oh, it was just beautifully done. And one of those things, I myself am an actor, so watching that was kind of just like, it just couldn't take my eyes off it. So the performances were brilliant, and it, again, like, to make something like that interesting when it's quite wordy, it's heavy, it's all mainly in one location.
Well, I think when he was building the screenplay, I think it could have taken more of it actually. But I think when he was building the screenplay and then before you start shooting, he was like, well, we've got to get out of the room somehow. So we will have a bit of flashback, which will help explain some of the darker things that have happened in these two men's lives, which sort of make it a bit similar. But I think probably it could have taken more, but then it's a difficult balance for the audience member, isn't it? Because sometimes, I mean, as actors, you're like, oh, I could have done with a couple more of Tony's speeches or a bit more banter. But then that might have been too much for the average moviegoer per se. You know what I mean? We don't want it to get too intellectual. Otherwise...
Exactly. But as you say, you mentioned there, like, there were moments of lightness as well and funniness, and there was like funny moments which kept pace going, and that's what I really enjoyed about it. It wasn't, I think, that's shoving down your face.
Surprising from. Well, not surprising that it's coming from, but one of the greatest actors of all time. But he brings levity into moments. And he does it often with some of these historical characters that he's played. There's kind of a bit of humor. I mean, he himself is incredibly humorous. We're very lucky.
Professor Lewis.
Dr. Freud.
I've given you up for lost. Yoffie is my personal assistant.
Really?
Well, if a patient is calm, Yoffie always stretches out at my feet. But if a patient is agitated, Yoffie stands at my side.
What should I make of his running away at the sight of me?
Well, he's also a fanatic about punctuality.
Now for a quick break. Are you a writer, director, actor, costume designer, perhaps makeup artist? Are you interested in camera? This is the place to share your journey. We want to hear from you. How did you start your career? Has it started yet? And perhaps, if you're feeling brave, share with us your most embarrassing film-related moment. So slip into our DMs at Life in Film Pod on Instagram. Check out the Patreon at patreon.com/lifeinfilm, where you'll get episodes early and uncut, amongst other treats. And don't forget to follow us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. If you enjoy this episode, please leave us a positive rating. Add us on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok at Life in Film Pod, and find our video episodes on YouTube by searching Elliot James Langridge Life in Film. Essentially, please like and subscribe everything. It makes a huge difference. Thank you. This podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp. Do you work in the film industry? Are you freelance? Or perhaps you have a 9-to-5? No matter what you do, mental health affects us all. I struggled early on in my career with the uncertainty of if and when I would ever work again. struggling to pay my bills, or simply with anxiety. Don't know about you, but being an actor, it's very important for me to maintain structure in the downtimes, and I found not only exercise, but talking to someone, for me, was a game changer. And so Life in Film has partnered with BetterHelp to provide you with access to the largest online therapy service in the world. And it can all be done from the comfort of your own home, from a phone, tablet or laptop. No commute, cutting down travel costs, and most importantly, it's affordable. With over 1,000 therapists in the UK, BetterHelp can provide access to mental health professionals with a wide variety of expertise in mental health. If you need someone to talk to and you're thinking of giving therapy a go, BetterHelp is a great option. And being a listener of the podcast, you get 10% off. That's 10% off your first month at betterhelp.com/lifeinfilm. That's betterhelp.com/lifeinfilm. And back to the show. Hi, Matthew. How's it going?
Okay, how are you doing?
I'm good. I'm very good. My podcast is usually about asking people how they got into the thing they love. Obviously, writing, directing. How did that begin for you?
I was always a writer, and I was all through since I was like 12 years old. I mean, I got my parents called into school and in trouble for an essay I wrote, which was like, so out there. It was just like, when I was like 12. So I just always knew about creative writing and I loved it. And then it wasn't until later in life that I finally was like, how the hell what am I gonna do with my life? And I was thinking, well, writing, law school or something like that. And I was like, no, I love movies. I love movies more than anything. So yeah, and then it finally occurred to me because I grew up in Boston, where it's not Los Angeles or even London for that matter. And it occurred to me that it was possible to be a screenwriter. And that was it. I went down to NYU for a summer and fell into independent film in New York and just completely fell in love with the whole filmmaking side of it at the same time. And then that's where it grew out of.
Forgive me, but why would you come here to see me if you disagree so passionately with my views?
To make you realize that you're wrong.
Well done. Good.
This film is so complex and there's so many undertones and it also having to be historically, I guess you could say, accurate, but at the same time it's a kind of almost a folklore of what could have happened. How do you go about writing something like this?
I mean, it had really good source material. I think that was the big help. I mean, it was based on a book, The Question of God by Armin Nikolai. So they had about 30 years of developing and researching into C.S. Lewis and into even longer with Freud before the C.S. Lewis character was introduced. So there's a whole history there. And then from that came the play by Mark St. Germain, which was pretty brilliant. And then we had about a 5-year development period, maybe a little bit longer with the script. So I think when you're taking on kind of these sort of heavier themes with screenplays, time is your friend in a way, because you can revisit it and you sort of step back and see how it grows and evolves. There's the danger of evolving too much, but it's I think that's really it. It's just having the time to take a look at it and let it develop.
And it must be nice. I mean, with previous films that you've done as well, you obviously like to write and direct things and have that whole process be one thing. And it must be nice to follow something through to the end. When you get to a casting situation and you have on a bit of paper, your dream cast. I mean, you got them with this. It's kind of,
I know, it's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah.
I kind of did with the last one too. I've been very, very fortunate in a lot of ways with that, because I mean, to me, this is all about the actors. You have to have just the most amazing actors taking on these kinds of characters for it to feel authentic. And I was so blessed. I mean, Hopkins is like your number one dream for this. And then Mathew Goode, I think he's so incredible in this. I mean, he blows me away. So he holds his own, which is saying something, and he did it in a way that was, I don't want to say unexpected, but he holds his own with like a quiet presence, and he takes it from Freud, and yet he's always present and he's always grounded as an actor and he's always listening. And I just think it's like, it was a way to do it for him. And I think he did a wonderful, wonderful job. So yeah, blessed.
Watching the two of them on screen was just like, it is a masterclass.
Right?
I didn't realize originally, before I did my homework on this on this podcast, I didn't realize that it was a play, and I was watching thinking this would be a great play. As I looked into it afterwards, preparation for the interview, I realized it actually was. But
it was a great play. It's just it's two men around a desk, basically. For you can't. I mean, you could, but it'd be tricky.
And to see this film and to see what you've got, congratulations, man, because you obviously live in that dream. So all the best, and good luck with the movie. Not that you're going to need it, and good luck with the rest of the interviews.
Lovely to meet you.
Cheers, man. Thank you.
Take care.
It's a Life in Film, motherfucker. Subscribe and like and follow.
Thank you to the Matthews, and thank you to our sponsor, BetterHelp. Freud's Last Session is in cinemas now. This is the final episode of Life in Film this season. Thank you for all your support and your listens and your shares. We'll see you in 2024.